Hi, this is Anand Sharma from CXOTVnews, a flagship brand under the umbrella of Tech Plus Media Group. A warm hello and welcome to everyone. This is the third year of our webinar series titled Marketing Mondays. We have been touching upon various topics of interest to the marketing fraternity, and you can watch all the past events on demand at www.CXOTV.news. Well, today's topic is security, how marketing can be a differentiator. Marketing demands very bespoke and tailor-made solutions from company to company and customer to customer. Cybersecurity is a focus area for any company, be it any vertical or any segment. Data protection, be it customer data or company-sensitive information. We all are dependent on security companies. All companies do have to outline their solutions and offerings and bring out the differentiation for the target segment with a common aim of selling more. Not only that, they need to address the customer pain points and tell the information very well how they are addressing it so that the customer is very clear what a great thing they are signing for. We have an eminent panel today to guide us as to how it would be different for a security company to market themselves and their offerings. Let me request the panelists to do a quick self-introduction. Going by the order of the names, we have Mr. Amol Gaikwad, Head Marketing, India and SAARC Checkpoint. We have Ms. Saumya Agarwal, Marketing Head at Augnito. And we have Ms. Sherry Gera, Marketing Director at HCL. Amol, we would start with you. Please share your introduction.
Thank you, Amit. So, welcome everyone, and it's good to be on this panel. Checkpoint, for those of you who don't know, is one of the oldest cybersecurity vendors across the globe. We've been operating in India for about 15-20 years. I have been working with Checkpoint for the past 2.5 years. And, like you mentioned, the topic security, and how marketing can be a differentiator. Honestly, security is just one industry. There are multiple industries in tech where marketing is truly the differentiator, because we've been working across different tech industries, right? And, for any, because I'm just going to use the word boring. Tech gets boring to a lot of B2C consumers. So our job as marketers to make it as interesting as possible, as relatable as possible, and as accessible as possible in today's world. So that's just going to be my introduction. Thank you.
Thank you, Amol. Saumya, do you want to go next?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Anand. First of all, it's a pleasure to be speaking at this panel. My name is Saumya, and I'm currently leading the brand marketing for Augnito. Augnito is a SaaS-based company that is revolutionizing the healthcare market with its voice recognition solutions. I've been a part of Augnito from about 1.5 years, and Augnito is a 3-year-old startup which is into the healthcare industry and has traversed from India to Middle East to US to UK in just a span of 3 years, with a reach of about 350 plus hospitals in just India and more across the world. So I've also had a chance to work with Moglix in the past, and I used to handle marketing for Moglix Middle East, their packaging vertical and their brand campaigns. Previous to that, I've also had a chance to work with a marketing agency wherein I was handling brand marketing and strategies for companies like Cisco, AWS, Microsoft, and others. So it's a pleasure to be a part of this panel, and I'll be touching upon the brand marketing side of marketing and would be happy to contribute.
Thank you so much, Saumya. Hi, Sherry. Would you like to go next?
Sure. So, hey everyone, I'm Sherry, and just as my co-panelists mentioned, we all are pretty excited to join today. I've largely been with technology marketing and more in the B2B space. In my current organization, I am leading the marketing for the Microsoft vertical. So everybody, knows that HCL Technologies, where, I'm currently working, is an IT services and solutions organization with presence in over 50 countries. So there is a lot of focus on ecosystem specific marketing, and with Microsoft, I think that's, and such other hyperscalers, that's where the future lies. So I think I would like to really, bring out the discussion today around, like Saumya said, the brand marketing, around, personalization and how we need to humanize marketing. And of course, we can touch upon some examples around the security bit.
Great. Thank you so much. I'm delighted and honored to have all of you on the panel today. Let me go through my standard disclaimer. The thoughts exchanged on this platform by the panelists are their own and may not represent or subscribe to the organization they work with. Thank you once again. So, Amol, starting with you, when we say marketing, we mean to stand out and differentiate, right? What are your views on market differentiation? What are your thoughts on this?
So let me just take a step back. What happens a lot of times, right? And this could be so what I'm speaking could be my bias because I've worked in technology throughout. And the way I looked at differentiation is depending on what stage the technology is and where the actual organization is, right? So, for example, Saumya is working for a startup. For them, the differentiation might mean something else. But for somebody like an HCL or Checkpoint who've been, far more entrenched in their respective industry, the differentiation would be very different. So for us, I'm just going to take example of Checkpoint right now. For us, the differentiation is our, legacy, which is we're one of the oldest, security brands. And security is something, it's very complex. It's unlike, it's unlike a cloud or unlike a SaaS product, which is easier to explain. Security gets very, very complex. Our target segment also goes from a developer to a CISO to, sometimes a very technical person in the organization. So our differentiation only happens when we say that, look, we've been able to secure another similar 100 organizations like yours. And, we've been able to handle complexities like yours. And that's our differentiation. But when I worked in the past for a SaaS organization, for us, it was as simple as solving that problem because, it was making it accessible for them. So it is important. It is important how we message it. But, honestly, it depends on this, especially with technology companies. I'm just going to stick to technologies and B2B. It really depends on the industry and the technology as such, right? Open to other thoughts. Again, very biased opinion.
Well, that's fine. Sherry, you have any thoughts to add? What Amol mentioned or Saumya?
I think I'll just take from where Amol started out, right, on talking in terms of how marketing needs to address a challenge and what stage is a client in, right? So yes, marketing is supposed to somewhere, the biggest differentiator that marketing itself can act as basically implies that we're positioning ourselves to the client in the best possible way, right? You have products to sell, which is great, but unless you bring it out of the market and show them the value, there are so many others that might be offering the same set of products. So that is the biggest differentiator that you bring to the market. But yes, to Amol's point, one needs to understand what stage of engagement is the client in. Are they into an early discovery stage where they're trying to understand for that particular segment? And it's across all segments and across whether it's a B2B or a B2C kind of engagement. It could be a stage where they are at a latter stage where they've already engaged with your organization and they're trying to, understand more. And here's an opportunity to, really upsell yourself and, show the value. So it is where the client is sitting, whether they're trying to discover or they're trying to, engage with you on a specific product or looking for vendors. So that's what the marketing team needs to understand.
And then perhaps, do the pitch accordingly, right?
Absolutely.
One size doesn't suit all or fits all, right? Makes sense. Saumya, any thoughts you have on this?
So I agree with all the thoughts here. I believe that when you are trying to differentiate with so many products and technology in the market already, or services in the market, it becomes very difficult for any company to go about it. But it's not just about differentiating yourself in the market and trying to selling the product or the service. It's also about understanding your consumer first. As in, what kind of value are you going to generate for the consumer, or are you going to bring on the table for the consumer? And not just the consumer, but also the target market. So we often forget about the target market, and we often focus on the consumer itself, that we are just going to sell the product or the service. So differentiation occurs when you focus on the target market and not just on the consumer. And that's how the big brands are built, because after a certain time, it's all about that emotional connect that you have with the market and how the people in the market are able to recognize your brand. That's how you can differentiate yourself from others. If you're just going to focus on the functional value and the product itself, then after a certain time, it's going to be a little materialistic in nature. And if you want to establish that marketing and the brand side of it in the long run, your differentiation will come from the 360 point of view and not just the functional value. It has to consist your psychological value. It has to consist of your functional value. It has to consist of your monetary value. So it's a totality.
Sure, very, very valid point, Samya. Rather, Manuel, next question comes to you only, and slightly related. So we all know brands and how much brands focus on differentiation, right? We recognize the brands with the differentiator that they have, aspired to, or they have deliberately, put us through, right? Their mission statement, vision statement, and goal statements, and what they want to stand out for, right? So, what sort of differentiation a brand can, or a company can think of from brand perspective? And I did not say that Tata is a big brand, right? We all know what it stands for. Whenever you talk about Tata, you have some image in mind, right? Whenever you talk about, let's say, Amazon, you have some image in mind, right? That image, what we call as a brand also, right? So over to you. When we talk about brand, what thoughts come to you from differentiation angle?
Sure. So when you talk about differentiation and brand, it happens right at the stage when you come up with a name. So, for example, you said Tata. It's a name, and it's a different name, and there is no other name like Tata. It's just one in the world. Amazon, it's one in the world. So that's a name. Then you have a logo to it. Then you have a tagline to it. And that's how you position yourself in the market. And there are so many things other than this. It has a particular color to it. So, for example, when you think of Zomato, maybe you think of red and white in color. That's how they have positioned and differentiated themselves in the market. And that's how companies do it when it comes to different technologies, different products in the market. And I believe that differentiation not just happens at the stage wherein you're differentiating in terms of the logo or the tagline. It is much more than that. So I always believe there are three parameters to differentiation. That is, one is psychological, second is visual, and third is learning. So when it comes to psychological and psychology, you need to understand your consumer well, as in what your consumer stands for, what are they expecting from you in the market, and second is visualization. So once you know what your consumer wants and what their needs are, and maybe sometimes consumer don't even know about their needs, you need to find out what exactly they need. So that happens when you're doing your research, qualitative, quantitative, you figure it out. And then comes the visualization stage, which is your logo, which is your ad, which is your messaging, whatever comes to your mind. So you send it out to the consumer, they visualize it, and that's how that psychological thing happens. They recall. They whenever you see so many ads so many times from Amazon, you recall what Amazon stands for and what value they bring to the table. And third is about learning. So learning happens from the campaigns you do, from the content you generate. If you have a differentiated content, if that is very different from others in the market, you're able to capture the mind of your consumer. So all these three things happen together, and that's how you differentiate from others in the market.
Very valid point, Saumya. Rather, when a brand differentiator, we talk about, it's what also comes to my mind is what does the brand stand for, right? We have seen so many big brand names of, let's say, car manufacturers, Hondas and Toyotas of the world doing so many car recalls, right? Because of one small thing which malfunctioned, right? So they want to uphold to their customers that quality is of paramount importance to us. So anyways, what are your thoughts, Sherry?
I think this is a very interesting question. Rather, it brings us to try to understand that why branding matters, honestly. From the time, we look at how it's evolved, earlier on, branding was pretty much limited to, organizations which were more, like retail organizations, which were more end customer based, right? And they used to drive these campaign, toothpaste brands, and, where they're laying out offers. From there to today, gradually technology companies or B2B companies also got into this space. Today, if you look at branding and marketing, I think each of us need to create our individual personal brand, right? We putting ourselves on Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram. That's precisely what we're doing. So that is the impact or the importance that branding brings today. So there is also a talk about personal branding versus, organizational branding, which, we can possibly talk about later. But the importance of branding is what, I'm talking about. And that's what this particular change or evolution shows. In terms of branding value or in terms of how you can stand out for your brand, I think a lot of organizations are trying to humanize the experience, which was not the case earlier. Earlier, it was more cost driven, or it was just about your logo or the presence that you're showing or the tagline. Today, it is how you're connecting with the audience. And say most of the global audience, particularly driven by the Indian audience, is really, really engaged by emotions. So if you humanize the brand, say, to give an example without naming the brand, a fruit drink brand with mango flavor reached out to the villages of people who were growing these mangoes and how they started out as an entrepreneur, and how the brand organization supported them in growing mango trees and finally bringing it to the table as a mango drink for the end customer. So what they basically did was to develop that connect, from the inception to the end product, and shared that with the consumers. And that's what brought in the brand values. It humanized the experience. So I think that makes a lot of importance to how you're branding yourself. And that's precisely why, evolving yourself in terms of the brand is extremely important.
Absolutely with you. Absolutely. And, when you were saying that how brands have evolved, I was just going through my memory lane that, we grew up with lots of branding from Nirmas of the world and Colgates of the world, right? And then gradually we saw Intel inside. Okay. So, you can trust this because it has Intel inside, right? And it evolved in a big manner. The first movers always had advantage, be it Intel inside or be it Nirmas or be it Colgates of the world, right? So great. Amol, in thoughts from your end?
Yeah, so I know great thoughts from Saumya and Sherry. I'm just going to say, more from a B2B standpoint, most of the tech brands that we have today, right? We've learned these 4 Ps and 7 Ps. In my mind, today there are 3 Ps: personalization, people and processes, right? Like I mentioned earlier, right? tech is very boring. It is boring, right? If you talk about cloud, nobody understands. I go to my mom, she'll not understand what cloud is. I go to my dad, he will not understand what security is because he doesn't believe in it, right? Most of the people just don't have any interface with any of the B2B tech brands. All right. But the people that we have in our organization, the processes that we have at each level, the brand experience that a customer gets, or I think it was Saumya who mentioned that, there's a consumer and there's a customer. It's the same for a B2B tech brand as well. The people who are actually signing up the contract to buy my firewall or buy my product versus the people who are using it are two different entities. So when my engineer goes to install it, his behavior is going to, in his mind, that engineer's behavior is going to decide what my brand stands for. If he is not good or if he's half knowledge, my brand is not going to stand test of time, right? Same goes with the process. If he's buying it or if he's installing it or if there's a delivery delay, right? That's going to impact the brand. And unfortunately, a B2B tech brand has only these three things to rely on today. Unlike a B2C brand, we see a lot of promotions on, social media because, we've humanized it. But I think at the end of the day, unless and until you're using a tech product, a brand cannot differentiate. The only differentiation that we can do is at these touch points at each customer experience, right? And again, from a process standpoint, from a people standpoint, how much can we personalize, right? Today, if I'm doing a campaign, it could be a small campaign for 10 people, but can I customize it to everybody's needs? I think we've discussed in detail earlier, right? That is where this branding and differentiation will happen. A visual identity will remain. You say HCL, we know HCL, it's a logo. If you say Checkpoint, people who know Checkpoint, right? Because it's a pink and a black bubble, right? But that visual identity, what it stands for, is not going to translate to somebody's mind if, I don't have my people processes and the personalization in line with what my brand stands for. So, that's I think that is what is going to stand the test of time, purely from a differentiation standpoint.
Absolutely.
So Anand, I would just want to add a particular point here to what Amol just said. So somewhere, I agree when he says that earlier technology branding was extremely, mundane and, people didn't understand it. But that's something that most organizations have realized now. Which was not the case earlier, right? And that's why the humanizing or personalizing experience needs to happen. If I give an example of my prior organization, when they launched their brand, we went ahead and planted, trees, which was equivalent to the number of employees that the organization had. So each region had to go ahead and plant trees. And, whichever event, we went with, had not just the logo, because those are cliche things, having your logo or a tagline, but the representation was through the kind of colors that the team was wearing at the planting events. So I think it has gone over and beyond just the typical, go with a logo and a tagline and just go ahead and launch it. It has to become more grander than that.
Absolutely with you. Rather, once you touch on the branding, I always feel that apart from all the good things that the government is doing, they caught on or latched on to this opportunity of G20 presidency, right? And, it's like hardly a week passes wherein you are not reminded that, we have got a G20 presidency, right? So I'm not saying good or bad, but I'm just saying that, bold, big, we are G20 presidency, we have to see out. So yes, a lot of opportunities. And Amol, you were talking about your parents. Well, we should discount them because I remember seeing a video of one IT minister in a state assembly. Okay, he's telling the rest of the ministers that adopting cloud is very risky because you will put all your data on cloud, and once the cloud drains, your data is gone, right? So. And he was an IT minister, right? So our parents are not expected to know this, believe me, but IT minister must be knowing all this, right? Okay. So, and firewalls are very risky also, right? Both because, you put a firewall and it's a wall with fire, and then, it puts the entire building at risk. So, anyways, great. Sherry, I'll pick the thread from where Amol left. Is on basically hyper personalization, right? So, what sort of differentiation a marketer can bring with this? And you did touch upon while you were responding to Amol. Okay, with respect to hyper personalization for the target segment, we all are seeing different technologies with augmented reality, virtual reality, with the geofencing. They all are trying to address to the right target segment and sub segment and sub segment and do lots of hyper personalization. But then, what are your thoughts and what sort of differentiation a marketer can bring with respect to hyper personalization?
I think that's a very that's an area that all marketers are still struggling with, is what I would say, because for starters, for hyper personalization, bringing that personalized experience, whichever segment you pick up, whether it's a business or a consumer led, you need to first do the persona, audience persona, profiling. So you need to know who are the personas that you're targeting within an IT organization. For example, these are the different kind of people that even if a CMO is approached, right, you're approaching them with the technology product, it needs to be personalized in such a way that it's kind of bringing end results for their requirement. So that personalization can be achieved through one, that you need to be very, very audience driven, purpose driven, challenge driven. And the second way is, I've seen organizations bring out personalization on their websites, where it's an IT developer, he'll be redirected to a different version of the landing page versus if it's a retail customer. But it's very time consuming, it's very cost consuming, and you need to bring out a lot of content on the page which is relevant for that audience. So I think identifying the audience becomes very important in personalization.
Very true, very true. Identifying the audience and their interest area and what would be of relevant to them. Yeah, absolutely. Amol, coming back to you, since you are at Checkpoint and it has a huge relevance to our topic today, how different it is to do marketing for a security company like Checkpoint vis-a-vis any other company. You can draw from your previous experiences and all. Yeah.
Sure. So I'm just going to stick to cybersecurity and not just Checkpoint. Previously I'd worked with entity where I was handling the cybersecurity services part. So I've been in cybersecurity for some time. Cybersecurity is, I won't say it's difficult, but it's very unique because people don't talk about it. People can't talk about it to a certain extent because of regulatory reasons in certain industries, and people are afraid to talk about it. I've had instances where we have gone ahead and spoken about a customer, and we've done a lot of hoo-ha around promoting this customer, and then the second day he got breached. So it's a tough it's a tough industry. You can't. And anybody in the cybersecurity industry, who says we will protect you 100%, you are never 100% protected, right? Because as the technology landscape is evolving, the hackers are also evolving, right? Earlier, phishing used to happen through internet. Today, it happens through WhatsApp and SMSs, right? So, from a marketing standpoint, the only thing that we've seen is I'm going to go back to what Sherry said earlier, right? The hyper personalization. It's difficult, but you can create communities and you can target those communities through, community personalized way. And I think cybersecurity wouldn't be the right approach, right product or industry for personalization, because more or less the use cases are defined. So in that sense, again, like I mentioned earlier, very technical in nature. So you have to understand who's using the product, who's actually installing it, and who it is catering to, right? And it goes far and beyond. Today, the government of India is, promoting a lot of cyber security awareness programs. But if you go to, any tier 3 town or a tier 2 town, it's actually not getting into practice. And it's not just true for tier 2, tier 3. Today, whatever we are also promoting as checkpoint, our customers don't always follow, the user guides or whatever promotional materials that we are putting, because that's just our nature. We never look at instructions. We just follow intuition. And that's where it is a challenge, because, cybersecurity is not intuition. It is a very programmatic methodological product, and that is what has been our challenge. We try to educate our customers as well as try and give them an experience where they feel that this is something that they can sit and do anywhere, in terms of using or configuring or giving it to their customers. So some of the largest banks are our customers today, but given the nature of banking and the volume of banking, it is, and we can't promote, given the fact that we can't promote the banks, that we give to, it becomes challenging. So we kind of have our own SMEs who talk about it and try and simplify the message as much as possible. We were the first ones probably in India to do a cybersecurity podcast, which kind of, we dumbed it down to a level that, like my dad or mom today will understand, like I mentioned it earlier. So, and we are trying to bring a comedic element to it. So we're trying to do different things, but what sticks, what doesn't, the jury is still out. So I guess Saumya will be a better person because she's into more B2 SaaS space, so she'll probably have a better answer to personalization. And
yeah, I'll come to Saumya. So yes, what I was thinking also is perhaps two things. One, down the line, we would have AI is coming in picture, all right, which would alert in a more intelligent fashion that this is risky what you are going to do, right? I'm a avid PTM user, and PTM does alert you if you're on a call and you are trying to make a payment, right? But then what I was thinking is that perhaps from B2C perspective, there's still a large scope of a market which is untapped, right? Because we just talk about security, not cybersecurity, right? There's a huge market wherein my personal system or my personal mobile, because all mobiles are e-wallets now, right? They are getting phished or hacked and so on and so forth, right? Because if you're a Google phone user, or Apple phone user, if your ID and password are leaked out, right, then your entire phone configuration is leaked out, right? So a lot of I feel from security perspective, B2C space is a huge untapped market. That's my observation or reading, right? Because at the end of the day, yes, B2B is a market, but we all are consumers of security also. We are a consumer of security, right? So that is there. So yes, Saumya, over to you. Your thoughts, and I won't say Augnito, but in the type of industry you are in, right? How is it different from your past experiences?
Sure. I would like to touch upon the security in B2B side more because we've been talking about it.
Yeah.
So when we talk about hyper-personalization in the B2B side, like Sherry said that it's very important to create a persona. And then Amol said that it's important to realize who is actually consuming that technology. So I feel that to create that hyper-personalization in today's B2B world, it's important to understand the importance of content. Because content plays the major role over here. You need to understand what kind of consumers are you going to interact with. Because when you market your product to a business, then there are different kinds of consumers in that. Someone who is actually utilizing that technology on a day-to-day basis, someone who is taking the decision of implementing that technology, and someone who is responsible for the cost of that technology. So you need to see how you're going to market your technology to these three kinds of people in different ways. Because for a person who is taking, for example, a CFO who is taking care of the finances, CEO who is taking care of the finances and operations, he would like to understand what kind of cost is that technology coming at, and what kind of benefit that technology is going to give to the business. So you need to prepare your content accordingly and market it for the CFO. Similarly, the person who is actually utilizing that technology, the end user of that, you need to market it in a way that it is actually going to make your work easier. And so you can't just market your company in just one particular way, that I stand for this and this is the problem I'm solving. I'm solving various problems for various people in the business. And if you're able to create that concept, then you're able to create the hyper personalization that we were talking about. That's
Very-
just my sense on that.
Yeah. Really, thank you so much, Saumya. Sherry, your thoughts on this?
I think I totally second what Saumya just said, and organizations need to now, start realizing that for you to kind of become successful in your businesses, first, give equal leverage to, the kind of branding and marketing you're doing. Make it purposeful, make it engaging, and always make sure that, engagement is front driven by like backed by the right kind of content that you or messages that you're taking out to the market. Most organizations aren't even aware. There are product managers that I've worked with who don't know. They're talking jargons and they're talking product language, but clients don't want to hear that. If you have to kind of personalize, whether you go ahead and personalize or you don't personalize, I think one thing that remains constant is how you're messaging yourself. Make it, something that is relevant. Make it purposeful is what I would like to say.
Absolutely with you. Absolutely. I think very valid points. We are almost on top of the hour, and I'll just ask a wrap-up question now. A quick two-liner for our, whatever you want to share with our wannabe CMOs or marketing, fraternity, okay, as to what they should focus on, what they should prepare on, okay, and what they should look at in the marketing field. Amol, we'll start with you.
I guess, from whatever we've learned in lockdown and beyond now, hybrid, virtual, then, now back to physical. I guess marketing is one function which kind of unites most important key other functions in an organization. And the earlier we realize that, the better it is for us as marketers, because a lot of times all the senior leaders, may it be sales or your strategy leaders, are looking up to somebody who glues the whole messaging internally together, right, which they can translate it better. Which I've realized it the hard way, so that's why it's coming out like this. But it's important that marketing is the glue which kind of holds the whole organizations together, and I think we should own it up rather than sometimes, because it can get too much, right? Because there are too many stakeholders and we are working in large organizations. But the earlier we realize and the earlier we own that up, it's a very it's a very good place to be, because if we glue it together and then we understand every element of the business, then we understand the consumer better, and then it kind of then helps us aid the business better. I think that's just my 2 cents.
Sure. Thank you so much, Amol. Saumya, over to you. Quick one.
I believe that to win everyone, you need to focus on everyone. So marketing is not just about consumers. It is also about other people in the organization, your employees, your partners that you're going to work with, and of course, the customers. So I believe that people should focus on everyone together to bring out the aspects in the most emotional way they can, because marketing is about being humane. At the end of the day, it's not about the product. It's not about any campaign that you do. It's about the company that is adding value in the most emotional way to the people. So,
All the stakeholders you're mentioning.
all the stakeholders, because tomorrow, if you're going to focus on your employees, they are going to work nicely on the product, and that's going to add more value to your customer. It's all interlinked. So when you talk about marketing, just take it as a whole and bring out the most emotional side you can.
Great. I think, Saumya, you chose what Sherry would aspire, stand for, employee first, right, Sherry? So is it still the tagline of HCL, Sherry? Employee first.
I think it should be the tagline of all organizations.
All right. Okay. Go ahead, Sherry. Over to you.
So I think how I would sum it up is that marketing matters, and organizations understand that. Each of us are sitting here today, or whether or not in this room, are marketing ourselves. So marketing does matter. So I would just say to somebody who's a new entrant to this field, make it count. Don't follow a siloed approach. You're not just one marketing person leading a function, but this has become an organization as a whole. It is the business. It's no longer a separate function. Everything is frontland or driven by marketing. And that's a strong statement to make, but that's what I see, and how this is going to get better and better. It's the best place to be in, honestly, today.
Thank you. I like the commitment and passion coming from all three of you. Thank you so much. Well, it's been a fantastic session with Amol, Saumya, and Sherry. It was indeed a learning for me, and hope it's equally enriching for you as well. I thank you once again, Amol, Saumya, and Sherry, for joining us today and sharing the insights with us.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
For the audience, you can watch the past Marketing Monday sessions on www.CXOTV.news. Keep watching for more interesting and upcoming sessions under Marketing Mondays. I wish you all the success and a great week ahead. Stay safe, take care. Cheers.
For more updates from CXO TV, please like and subscribe to our channel.